We have new maps. What? New maps? Really? In 2021? Really? We have 3 new maps. The names of the maps are Blackburn. Ground and air distances between opponents is relatively short, but the inhibitor zone generators may slow players down. Strong forward positions are risky high-yield bases, encourage aggressive play. 2000 atmospheres. Ladder edition. Battle for survival on the seabed of this luminous alien planet. And then Beckett Industries ladder edition. Beckett Industries feature 3 acceleration zone generators placed on small bridges in the middle area. While being very tight, these choke points are still a valid attack path. That would be here, here, and here are the speed zones. And I will go over one game on each of these maps and talk about them. Let's do it. This is a ZVT that I played today. And one of the first things that's good to note, and you can thank me for losing a drone so that you don't have to, or at least you have a better chance of catching it, is the Reaper path. How does the Reaper get into your base on this map? You've got a main base with a bunch of area, especially over here. A lot of space right here, but you have these slow zones next to your base. There's one here, and then this is a Reaper jump. Can you believe that? I didn't even think about that as being an option. I was looking over here, but it looks like if we can just camera swivel, yep, this is not a valid Reaper jump. Only this spot is. SCV is going to scout. The expansion pattern I ended up taking, I think, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Let's just browse this. See what Blackburn is all about. More slow zones here in the center. You've got quite a few rocks. This looks a little bit like Newkirk Precinct. Just in the general layout, if you have forward thirds toward your opponent. It's very symmetrical looking. And this was the heckin' Reaper jump. And my Overlord wasn't in position for this either. Heck. So I have an Overlord here. This is pretty pointless because I can't see Reapers going this way. I could see it if it ran into my base this way. But this is probably the shortest rush Reaper jump. It gets slowed down. That's not really much of a slowdown for the Reaper. It's a very fast unit anyway. So yeah, be aware, before 2 minutes 30, the Reaper can be in your main base. If you wanted to, you could put your Lings over here. But just having vision, I think, would be the most important thing. And they can escape. There's a lot of area that's not creep as well, which is to the advantage of the Reaper. So this is a nice Reaper map, at least for the first one. I don't know if people are going to go mass Reaper, but definitely something to watch out for. I'm getting some creep going. Looks like they're going to go for some standard Hellion play. Can a Colossus take the ramp? I think Colossi can do Reaper jump ramps. Yeah. Are you worried about a one Colossus walk into your base and zap some stuff and walk away strat? It could happen. Would it be good? No, but it could happen. Spreading creep. Which third does Terran take here? They're going for Banshee and Hellion. Pretty fast third base. I have one Overlord at the move out lane so I can see if Hellions drive toward me. If there's a Viking, it's going to kill my Overlord anyway, so I like putting it here. And I scouted at around 420. And I see there are no depots at the wall. Just as a quick tip, this generally means there's a fast third orbital somewhere. So I'm making an inference based on partial scouting. I did get a creep tumor over here. You might creep down here. It's kind of technical, but you could do it. Queens are creeping there. Wings are helping them. I'm getting one spore per base. And I have a pretty decent worker count. So Terran's taking this base. This is super, super, super wide open. Jeez Louise, how do you even wall this? I could see aggressive Terran taking this as the base. And then going for a parade push into you. But in this case, the opponent's being a little bit more defensive. Making SCVs. I did a Ling run by here. We force a lot of lost mining time, which is nice. Running these around. Just as a note, I faced a Protoss on this map who went for a really passive take base, make Void Ray, mass cannons, and then get Storm and Carrier. A nice way to prevent Protoss from getting too out of control with that strategy would be to just try to max out with Roach Hydra and +1 attack really fast into +2, and then you can add other evos and tech into like Ultra Corruptor if you wanted to. But the distance between this base and this base is almost nothing. So for Queens to get over there would be really fast, and Roach Hydra's really good at breaking these rocks. Bane run by into this base is pretty good until they have a bunch of stuff here. This 5th base is pretty nice, but the downside is they can set up an attack over here and threaten these workers, which I think does end up happening this game. I'm using my Lings to kill these rocks. Did a Bane run by here, and I have 91 drones right now. I'm trying to get my worker count higher in general, just because that puts pressure on the opponent that you're mining more. It means they have to do something about it, otherwise they're going to fall further and further behind. And with Ling Bane, you can spike up your value really fast just by rapid fire morphing Banes. Creep spread is over halfway across the map, which doesn't seem too hard to do on this map, given that the rush is pretty short. A couple of the maps that they added, this one and Beckett, seem like they're both a really short rush, but they have map features that, in a way, make it feel longer rush than it is. So they're going for a timing now. This is with 1-1. +2 attack is on the way. I'm taking a bunch of bases. And they're avoiding creep. Oh, there's a dead Ultra here as a trophy. Sad. I'm mining from this base. And as soon as I see this attack, I say, fuck it. I don't need this base right now. I have other options, so I'm just going to pull the drones away to a different location, and I'm going to backstab really hard. So I think I send a bunch of Lings at the opponent instead of fighting. Because I have a nice pre-split here. I could technically beat this, but it wouldn't be a very efficient trade for my units. So I just send most of my Lings this way to go attack. And then see what damage we can get. And we're picking off tanks and stuff. Just ran into the natural. I could have also run into here. But if I take the natural, then I can attack reinforcement units too. And the opponent was able to kill this gold base. But it's whatever. I have other bases. I have this base too. So the nice thing about having 90 drones is you can just take bases, whatever. Taking a hatch is no problem. And see, this is pretty nice micro. They don't even have a ton of units. Oh, sad. Man, there's so much money in Muto's dead. You see that? 90 drones and you can make really big mistakes. And still be able to make units. These are just 1-1 units. I'm trying to remax. I lost a bunch of drones, so I'm down to 70. The queens have a bunch of creep in the middle, which is really comfy. Nice interaction here of a creep tumor that's blocking a base. So you send the drone to go kill it. And now I'm going to try to remax, so... We severely wounded our opponent. They're down to 36 SCVs. I lost the gold base, my 4th base, and about 20 drones, 22 drones, and a huge mutaflock, but we're still mostly fine. The creep is over halfway across. There's this base here, and the way that I ended up hassling this base, since they built 3 turrets to block muta, is just running Banes down into this. Seems pretty good. You can't run Banes through here, obviously, until the rocks are killed. And I killed those rocks as well. Muta's going into the main. You can get into the main pretty fast. There's no slow zone in this area right here, which is also a point to consider too. If Terran wanted to play YOLO drop style, they can just drop directly into your main base right here and avoid these slow zones down here. I don't think there's room to get past this without being at least slightly affected by the slow zone, but your main base has a ton of space, so if you die to doom drops a whole bunch, you could put like 1, 2, 3 spores to streamline it. There are some Terran who I face who do those kind of doom drops, and investing in a couple extra spores is totally cool, especially if you have a really big drone count. We're trying to re-drone here. Overlord's dropping creep here. Just getting some slight pickups with the mutas and being active. Just at a glance, this feels like one of the better maps for Zerg versus Bio, at least. We'll see. That could change if I get destroyed by Bio over and over again. But a lot of these pathways are really open. Like, this area is really open. This is super open. So is this. Jeez Louise. So if you can creep this and use the open spaces. And this angle here is really nice for harass. There's a Bane run by. I just commanded it into here. Yeah, nice. And then the mutas can go in to finish it off after the Banes kill the turrets. So this base is kind of tricky to defend. You could also put Roach Hydra back here or Lurkers. I think if you put range Lurkers right here, they could probably kill the planetary. So Lurker style could be good. And now the opponent's kind of going for a desperation attack. But we have ultras now. Yeah. This map seems pretty good against Bio. It's a decent turtle map for Protoss. For 4 bases, I lost to that on this map. If we're just looking at the base setup, they made a single Void Ray, took this base pretty early, and then made 7 cannons and a bunch of shield batteries here. Took this as a 4th and just parked a bunch of High Templar Archon until carriers came out, and then it went across and killed me. And I went for Ling Bane, and the Ling Bane couldn't really get much damage done because these bases are not too far from each other, so they could just sit their army here, and then they're blocking the natural, and then they make a bunch of static to defend this 3rd base and gateways as well. I feel like it's a little bit easier for Protoss to turtle with the cannon battery than it is for Terran. They would need to invest in a planetary to really block this off, but it's possible. I'm imagining a planetary and a barracks or something, and you've got this walled off pretty well. And then they would need to find some opening to be able to take this. But yeah, I like this. The mid-game fights and the late-game fights for ultras look fantastic with how big this area is. You do want to make sure there's vision of this space. It's easy to forget about because there are some rocks. But this is Blackburn. Really big main base. I expanded vertically and then took this as a 5th, and this is a 6th, and then this is a 7th. But it's still pretty early on. We'll see how it actually goes. Let's look at one on a different map. 2000 atmospheres. This is another ZVT. a tile set kind of like Submarine, but it feels pretty different in the layout. So what do you got for the main base? Pretty big area, but not as big as Blackburn, it feels like. The natural wall is pretty tight, and then the third base options are down or even ground with some rocks protecting it. And then you've got rocks here too. I went second base here and third base here, I think. Natural gas pool. There's not a ton of dead space back here. There's a little bit. I think a battle cruiser could be safe back here, or a Liberator, and the Queens wouldn't be able to reach it. But anything that's passing through here, I would guess the Queens could shoot at it. Once again, streamer laying down a drone so that we can learn the Reaper jump cliff. I don't really get mad at myself when I lose to this kind of Reaper play when a map is brand new. So apparently this is the spot. Is this also a spot? It looks like it is. This looks like a path. Yeah. So I think they can jump, and for this, jump into the base. So putting an Overlord, I had this one here to see where the third thingy is. Alternatively, you could put the Overlord here, and it would see both of these Reaper jumps. And you would know where to position your links, because I had my links down here, so yikes. Ouch. Queen is out. He goes around and then gets a kill or two. Whoa! What a jump. Clap. That's a very long, slow diagonal jump there. You can learn all there is to know about Reapers and they can still amaze you and surprise you. Fantastic. Look at this. This is beautiful. It's like bright bioluminescent pink fish and heckin' whatever this stuff is. Sea plants. Cool. This looks like a decent Overlord spot. The short rush path is probably just through here. I don't know. We'll see what their move out looks like. But I'm creeping this. I didn't try to put an Overlord here, but you might be able to. As a high ground spot. There's sea sharks. As opposed to air sharks, I guess. I like the look of this map. Is it a good map? I don't know, but it looks cool. It's not Submarine. There is something to be said for just having some variety, mixing things up. Many of us StarCraft folks were very upset that the season started and there were no new maps, but they were just a day late. So we can all put our pitchforks back in the shed. We can take them out at a later date. Once we find out that they're all Terran favored. So some rocks, you've got big rocks here, big rocks there. There's a small bridge here. I don't know how often this bridge would even be used. So I'm trying to drone up. Opponent went for a quick third orbital. A lot of Terrans do that. Double engineering bay. Hellion Banshee. I think I took this as my fourth base. Yep. Trying to creep. I'm taking some gases. Macro hatch. Bane speed. Whoops. Those are kind of late. This one does have 2 watchtowers with the grass around them, which is nice. It's always worth sending 1 ling to each one. I got scolded back when I was a high diamond low masters player for not having a 25 mineral unit at each of those. I take a bit of damage here because my spore is out of position. And there's a fourth base coming up pretty fast. Wow, I'm kind of behind, I feel like. I have a lot of army though. Yeah, so I'm about even in army supply and I'm ahead in workers now. I droned up a whole bunch. And this is my fifth base. Lots of open area right here. Good for taking fights. I'm sending in Lings. So his army was over here by the third. It takes a little bit to get over here to the natural to defend. And then the Medivac Marine is clearing up some creep over here. You think disruptors are good on this map? Yeah, I could see it with the bridges and the rocks. Before the rocks are broken, disruptors are pretty god tier units. And they're also good defensively. If your opponent attacks into you. I went Ling Bane Muta on this map again. Seems pretty fun. We have 78 workers. And it's pretty wide horizontally. And on any map like this, it's important to be ready to split your forces into two groups. This is a really nice angle to do Ling run by. This is wide open right here. And he walled this off, but not this. You would need a lot of stuff to wall this off. Or you could put a bunker and some depots here. That might be the cheaper way to get some basic defense. But the third and the fourth are kind of far from each other. So you could do Bane run by into this base if it's a planetary. And you could do Bane run by or Ling run by into this one. And there's not too much defense in the main. So you could fly Mutas in this way, potentially. He's massing Marines, so I guess he's just relying on that consistent production to keep him safe. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't teach it to fish. I'm just imagining a horse jumping into the water and biting a fish now. Maybe you could. Creep spread is looking pretty good. Big Marine tank attack. Oh man. Yep, we got a lot of damage there. I lost my Mutas, but I think I have Hive on the way. Yep. My 2-2 is going to be done pretty soon. And I'm remaxed. Opponent is also 2-2. Mass Lings. 120 Lings, 17 Banes. Gorgeous. Muta's flapping around. I think I like this map. This is very glowy. I didn't really get to pay attention to the aesthetic whenever I was playing on it. Yeah, so this map, more so than Blackburn, I think it's really gonna require you to have two groups of stuff if you want to play late game. And punching into an opponent with the timing doesn't seem as good. The opponent seems further away, so that Roach Hydra +1 thing that I mentioned on Blackburn, I don't know if it would be as good here. Hive is done. I went for Ultra. Could get Broods after that. Broods might not be as good because of how horizontal it is relative to your opponent, because they can just push on the other side. See, sending a bunch of Marines top side and then the more ouchy stuff on the south side. Oh, this is not a bad trade. I got the mines. And I think I just pull these workers away and put them up here. Yeah. So he's pushing in. We're trying to buy time as I get my ultras out. Miss Chitinous is finishing up. I already have Adrenal. YOLO drops. Once again, you could make a few spores right here. I had one. You can make 2 or 3. And I did a Ling Muta run by at this space. It seems like the third base in both this one and Blackburn you can hassle pretty well against Terran. And then now we're beating him up with Ultras. Sending the Queens too. Not sure if that's good, but it's definitely fun. You love this map? It's pretty. And it's not submarines, so I'm pretty happy. Fourth base is mining out. This will be the 5th. Did they make another orbital for this? Oh yeah, he did. Another drop. Then I have my secondary group over here. He's got a lot of Marines though. Ouch. Yep, and now we're kind of pushing to win with the tech lead. He can hang on for a good while with mines. The bank here is quite substantial. Does he have 3-3? Yeah, he does. Oh, we kill this. So I feel like I end up winning this more so with having a better army. I had the economy lead for a long time, but now I just have an overwhelming force. Ultras in this area are fantastic, especially with speed. Yeah, feels more like an Ultra map than a Broodlord map. With how wide it is. Cool. GG. I like this map. So the main base is pretty big. Again, you could put your spores here against Bio. If it was Void Ray, they would probably come in this way and then kill your base. So you could put a few spores right here and have Queens ready. The Warp Prism would also come in this way, so you could do 6 Hydras patrolling right here. And if you have this base and this base, they're pretty far apart, and this one as well. So having 2 separate control groups of some Ling Bane, etc. on the top side by this watchtower, and then some stuff on this watchtower. Harassing is nice. This is super wide. So sending in Lings, Banes, etc. here. This could be walled off. And then this is a pretty narrow path, but if you can get up to here and take a fight, Zerg is looking pretty good. So that's 2,000 atmospheres. And then the other one that we haven't gone over is Beckett Industries. Did I play? I think I played a ZVT here. Yeah. And then that'll have been the 3 new maps. This one's a lava map, I think. There's a bug on this map currently. Be warned, there's no countdown. A lot of the other maps, it gives you, well, every other map, it gives you the 3, 2, 1, and then it starts. For this one, it just starts. They'll probably hotfix that in the next couple days. Well, maybe. Actually, maybe you go get your pitchforks. When will these maps be released? Negative 12 hours. We laddered on these all day. They didn't include a countdown, so it makes the rush even faster. So there's a speed zone here, and speed zone here. One hatch first. This one has a much tighter main compared to Blackburn and 2,000 atmospheres. This seems like the logical third. This one seems really congested, so it's probably better as a Terran third. I'm scattering around with my Overlord. There's no indicator here. That's kind of annoying. I think this is the spot. Can they jump down here too? I think this is maybe a jump. And whatever that was. Usually they try to put some shit on the floor so you can see that that's the jump spot. Maybe you can see it easier from here. Yeah. So these crystals are blocking this. So it looks like this area right here is a double Reaper jump up into your base. And then this is maybe a jump. Who knows? You can't jump here because there's stuff blocking it. So yep. Once again. Yeah, he jumped up on that. Once again, streamer losing a drone. Just get it out of the way. Lose one drone on each of the new maps. So we can demonstrate how good Reapers are. Jeez. Creep. I took this at 21 supply. And Terran's doing the standard Hellion Liberator or Hellion Banshee. Where did the maps come from? Team Liquid map contest. All three of them. Different map makers, I think. But whenever the Team Liquid map contest happens, there are a whole bunch of maps in the rotation that are all, you could say, mostly StarCraft ready. Generally, Blizzard will go through and fix some of the bugs and issues with each of them. With the current staffing of Blizzard, that's much lower resource than it used to be. So if there are already issues with this map, the players will probably find out pretty fast, but we'll see how long things get patched until they get patched. The only issue with this that I've seen so far is there's no countdown, which seems like a pretty easy fix. So I'm refilling my gas. I've got Overlords here for vision. Let's see how the Terran expands. Queens are trying to creep. Hellions are sharking around, trying to clear it. The creep versus fire minigame. This map isn't quite as pretty as 2000 Atmospheres, but it's got an interesting shape to it. Double Evo. I'm gonna go Ling Bang Muta again. Liberator. That is a very strange path. I have a pretty massive worker lead now. This is the third. A tank right here could protect this against Ling Run By and stuff. I took this as my fourth. And I have an Overlord on the other side of this. This is an area where they could drop. I think the Terran ends up dropping there later on. Wings through the Hellions. Oh my goodness gracious. That's really funny. The airspace with access to two bases is interesting. You mean right here? You could hit this or this. Yeah, this is an alternate fourth base location. I probably wouldn't take this because the Terrans will be expanding toward you. So they can just hit you really fast and also be secure here at the same time. If the Terran commits down here, then it usually opens this space up. And this is a pretty nice wide area. So if I'm looking at a theme for these three new maps, the third base is more exposed than, say, Submarine, which is a very welcome change. You can attack from here and you can attack from here. And on Blackburn and 2000 Atmospheres, yeah, you've got a lot more options at the third. The general consensus, I think, has been that Protoss is a little bit OP at the moment. But one comment that people have made is that the Brood War has been balanced with maps instead of patches that change the units. So it's possible that they added these maps with more exposed thirds for the purpose of helping Zerg out a little bit without nerfing Void Rays. Yeah, so that's a drop in the spot. This could be moved a little bit. This one seems a little bit more tricky to spread creep, just because it's got all these like canyons and ridges and shit, and walls. This one's also pretty wide from up here to down here. But with all the ridges, this may be better for broods. I think I end up going Lingbane Corruptor Broodlord on this map for that reason. Overlord poop in here. Space is nice and open. Drops in the main. Spore to keep that safe. Safe-ish. Creep is about halfway. I think turn will take this as their fourth. It's a bit tighter than this one, which is pretty far away. Yeah, so now I have two control groups here. This group can hassle this base as it's being set up, and then my main army is over here. Corruptors are just getting some medivac pickups because the marine count is pretty low. Tank count is super high, which is good for a Broodlord switch. One note about tech placement here, the natural seems really safe. If you have this base established and it's safe, then this location is super safe because they would need to fly over this base to get here and mess with you. So having a spire here is pretty secure. They could maybe squeeze in some stuff this way, but if you have queens and mutas and there's a spore here or something, that's probably a bad idea for the Terran. This base also kind of protects this base, so the way that I think about it is consider your territory like a triangle. This is the triangle that I have right now. And you want to concentrate your spores at the corners of that for the most part, except this back corner. So here, and there's almost no dead space here. So if you even had like a spore there, that's protecting you against stuff that's going back this way. And if they boosted into the main base, this hatch would see it. This is good for Zerg, I think. Because that way you'll see Void Rays and that kind of thing. It gives the ability for queens to fight Void Rays. That's part of why Death Aura was such a amazing Protoss map, and it's no longer in the ladder pool. Because Void Rays can fly way around the back of your bases, and you can't get rid of them with queens and stuff. So this base is better for that purpose. A million tanks over here. Range liberators for this map. Yeah, you could maybe do a range lib here. I've been playing Lingbane Muta against Terran, so getting a Spire out pretty soon means that range liberators have a very small window where they're useful, and then the Mutas are out, and then you can just kill them and deny all that. And then broods on this map. An important note about broods is they should always be kind of close to the center of the map. And then you want to block wherever your opponent is going. You see as the broods are up here on this left side, then the Terran is trying to run away and down. They want to fight somewhere else and try to outmaneuver them if they can. Well, they should. This canyon is awesome for broods. They can just fly up this and the Marines can't chase them. Yeah, this space is super open. We could send a Ling run by up here. They didn't keep any dedicated defense there either. Have some ultras in the mix too. This whole area is really nice for ultras to fight in. This is pretty nice too. Putting the tanks on the edge here is bad when Broodlords are in the game. And this is basically a game. Nice. Cool. Well, this is Beckett. Again, I would say this is probably better for Zerg than the maps that got removed. Pillars of Gold was a decent Zerg map, so this one is really horizontal relative to where your opponent is. It doesn't feel like a copy of anything else, so pretty fresh layout. Looking forward to that. There's a lot of dead space in these corners, but that's not really as impactful as, say, this space protecting this space from air, and then this space protecting your main from air, which is really nice. I'm stoked. I'm really happy we have new maps. So what are the new maps? What do you veto as Zerg? Personally, I just vetoed some old maps that are less good for Zerg, so I can get more practice on the new maps. Jagannatha is a pretty good Zerg map, I think. Lightshade is also not too bad, so it's up in the air between these two. This map has a bunch of rocks and it feels pretty congested. So taking a, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Taking a 7th base is kind of out of the question on this map. Lightshade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can get a 7th base and be even with your opponent. They removed Death Aura, which was really, really good for Protoss, turtling on air, or even just High Templar. You didn't really have very many run-by opportunities, and it seems like that's what they really gave Zerg with this set of 3 new maps, is you can run Lingbane in through this way, hit this base, or alternatively you're running in here. You do Bane run by into their gold base line, and then really trying to creep past the mid-map point to apply pressure. And if it's a Protoss being greedy, doing that fast expand with the Void Ray, doing a Queen Walk would be really nice. You could even go 1, 2, 3, 4. Take this as your 4th base, and then push creep really, really fast, and then get a nice hit before they get carriers and too much storm. Then on this map, the expansion pattern that I took was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think. Which is nice because the 5th base and this base end up protecting your main somewhat from attacks. And this one has, I think this is the one that has watchtowers. Yeah, there's a watchtower here with some grass and a watchtower here with grass. So take the 2 watchtowers, expand kind of like this in a zigzag. You should be pretty safe. And then doing Bane run by down this hill into here, into their 3rd. And then this is where the 4th base usually goes, and this is where the 5th usually is. So just having some Ling presence here. Taking this watchtower means that taking this 5th base is really dicey for them. And then this area is nice and open, so if you do get ultras in the late game, you could beat them up pretty well with that. Beckett seems like a really good Lingbane Corruptor Broodlord map. All these crevasse, chasm areas and the cliffs and walls are really nice for Broodlords. It gives them retreat options and nice attack paths. And then you can use the speed zones for Broodlords too. It does apply to them. It applies to both air and ground units. This base is going to protect your main. So if you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is an expansion pattern. Same thing, kind of a zigzag. And then you can spore up here and spore up here, and you should be pretty secure. It's a pretty nice map. So yeah, big hype. I'm really happy that we have new maps now.